from an England perspective, a commanding day. Sri Lanka scratching their heads a bit. They're up against it now. 256 runs is England's lead. And just to run through the events of the day, quickly, England resuming on 358 for 7. Well, Gus Atkinson completed his 100, 103 balls for his 100, 11 fours and 4 sixes, and he played really well. I mean, you think of a number 8, the lower order batsman getting 100. There might be the occasional swipe in there, but there's nothing, no drop, no chances given. There's some immaculate shots, and he was eventually out for 118 from 115 balls. Potts kept him company, put 85 on together. He was out for 21. 427 all out. In goes Sri Lanka. A bit unlucky maybe, the first couple of wickets, both chopping balls into their stumps. You could argue they're a bit wide, but you often see inside edges and the ball go past the wicket. So the fact that both openers got out that way was a little bit of it was an unfortunate start, shall we say. 32 for 2, 35 for 3. And the collapse continued, really. Chandramalau to 87 for 6. Ratnayaka out at 118 for 7. And the only person that held them together yet again was Kaminda Mendis, who finished, he was the last man out for 74 from 120 balls. He had 8 fours, 3 sixes. He did really well with Kamara. They put on 44, of which Kamara's input was 0. But he played 22 balls away, and it was a really good effort. Brilliantly run out by Pope. Instead, a direct hit from square leg. He took careful aim 2 or 3 times and then hurled the ball and hit it direct. So that's a nice piece of cricket. And then in the second innings, Lawrence out for 7. Didn't look very happy with the decision, but I think if you're going purely by the technology, I think there were 2 spikes there. One when the ball flicked his inside edge, the other when it hit the pad. And the wicketkeeper, Madushka, seemed pretty confident, actually, when he appealed that it was caught behind. Lawrence didn't like it, but he was dispatched. 25 for 1 at the close, with Duckett and Pope at the crease. So England lead by 256. Let's start with Russell Arnold. Tough day, Russ.
Very tough day. Yesterday ended badly, you'd say. It's gotten worse today. Gus Atkinson started off from where he left off, just piled on the agony. And you could see the Sri Lankans getting more and more frustrated, and that ebbed on to their batting effort. Yes, early wickets, which you could say unfortunate, but then that's the way the game goes, and they were not in a position to put pressure on England at all. Whatever England did worked, and it's just disappointment that piled on from Sri Lanka's point of view. And now it's really going to hurt coming back. Fielding with a lead of over 200.
Bowlers sore. I mean, those seamers have worked hard, haven't they?
Yeah, they wouldn't have had much of a break, and hence, how much can they go on? That's another issue, because it does get to you as fast bowlers, especially keep on running in hard, and it's just going to be kind of going through the motions with Prabhat Jayasuriya not getting much out of this pitch. It's going to be really tough tomorrow.
Yeah. From another perspective, Michael, they'll be very happy in the England dressing room.
Yeah, a fantastic day. I mean, they fought yesterday. There was a couple of times yesterday where England were under pressure. Then Joe Root gave a masterclass, and then Gus Atkinson arrived this morning, 74 not out. I thought, well, he's going to be nervous. Surely he'll take a bit of time. Well, with inside the first 2 balls, he did a couple of 4s, and he got to 100. I mean, I sometimes look at people when they get 100 and think, oh, they've had a bit of fortune, and 1 or 2 things have gone your way. You know, Joe Root yesterday got that LBW that was the umpire's call. It went his way. Absolutely earned that right. But that was a perfect 100. Pretty much every single shot he played was to perfection. Some of those drives through the offside this morning, and he doesn't give anything away. He must be a brilliant poker player. He gives absolutely nothing away. And to think that inside 5 days of Test match cricket that he's had at Lords, he's on all 3 honours boards. It's just remarkable what he achieved this morning, what he achieved in the first Test match here against the West Indies. And he's putting them under, the pressure that they can produce, this England side, with 4 quicks. As soon as they got the ball in hand, they just bowled a perfect length. Wokes is a master at using that Duke ball. I thought Gus Atkinson bowled well. I thought Ollie Stone bowled well. I thought Potts was the pick.
You bowled well, didn't he?
He just got it nipping. He just got that full of length, and it was seaming in, seaming away, getting the odd ball to bounce. Then you got Bashir, who comes on and bowls nicely. It was a really good team bowling display from England. But to think that Sri Lanka, usually on tours you go, you've had a not a great warm-up game, then you played okay at Old Trafford, you're going to get better and you should be better at Lords. That was a really poor batting display. To only get 196 on that pitch was really poor from Sri Lanka. They didn't play well. That top order, it's so fragile. 2 early mistakes, a couple of flicks down the leg side to the trap set. So don't tell me that's unfortunate. That there's a leg slip and there's a leg gully. The fielder's there, so you can flick it into the hands, and they did it twice. I think Sanath Jayasuriya and the Sri Lankan group should be very, very disappointed with Honour scoring 196 on that pitch.
Yeah. What about Atkinson? I mean, you see, he's on those 3 boards, which is remarkable, and yet there's not any aspect of sort of, I don't know, luck or anything about it. I mean, he the way he's played, he looks an extraordinary find. I mean, very talented.
Yeah, you look at movement, don't you? When you look at players when they play nicely, you go, is it complicated? No, stands still. He has a little trigger. When he drives, very efficient with his foot movement. Doesn't have a huge stride. He just goes forward. His top hand takes over. And
his bowling's very uncomplicated too. He's got a few different grips, a few different things. He's got wobble seams and slow balls and things, but it's a very, very rhythmical, easy action.
Yeah, and usually when you're batting down at 8, 9, 10 or 11, and he's batting at number 8, you're kind of looking at, if you bounce him, I think he could be in with a bit of trouble, but he played the pull shot with great power, got his hands high, hit over the top of the ball. Again, Spinney used his feet, whacked it over the top, played with good defence. As I said, usually when you see someone get 100, you go, ooh, that was a perfect 100. That was as good as 100 that I have seen, actually.
Yeah. What are they going to do with Kaminda Mendis then, Russell? He keeps knocking out these runs with everybody else failing. I mean, why is he so low to start with?
Well, Sri Lanka do have that established middle order, don't they? Angelo Matthews, Chandimal and Dhananjaya De Silva, they've been doing the job for quite a while now. And Kaminda Mendis just his 5th test match.
Yes.
So he's going to find himself up the order. Probably even in the second innings, they're going to have to make that change, I'd reckon, and give him that opportunity to set the innings up. Bat with batters where there's no pressure and he just does not need to think of anything other than what's coming at him. The way he's going about what he's doing, again, like Gus Atkinson, perfect innings, as you did say. Kaminda Mendis' movements are the same. Just onto the front foot, he's able to hit through the line, then very good off the short ball as well, and crisp their movements. Hence, batters in form, get them out there. Maybe they can ease the pressure and make it a lot easier for those to follow.
Yeah. Thanks, Russ. We'll catch up with you tomorrow. Steve Finn's going to come in and give us a fast bowler's perspective of Atkinson and also Ollie Stone, actually, who picked up a couple of wickets there. He ran in well. His average speed was kind of mid-80s, so all the talk about him being a sort of a Wood replacement. He can bowl quicker than that, but he actually didn't. He didn't in that innings anyway.
Yeah, I don't think he can get to 91, 92 miles an hour. I think he is around 85 to 87. Gets a little bit of zip off the surface. I thought he bowled well. I thought they all, as a group, I think you always look, and I look at bowling types, how they're all kind of complementing each other. I think the full of length that England bowled, there was a hawkeye of all the lengths that England bowled. They bowled that beautiful full of length, which brought the Sri Lankan batters forward. It was, and it's their skill levels as well. I'm just watching them with their fingers, and Finney will tell us more about how you do that. But, they were just getting the ball to move, and it's not luck. You can see they're really working on the skill element. Jimmy Anderson's a master, isn't he, of getting the wobble seam, and you can see that Chris Wokes is bowling it. You can see Matthew Potts is bowling it. Gus Atkinson's bowling it. And that is what you require on this kind of... He wasn't swinging through the air that much, so you try and get it to just nip either way. And you ask any batter, you hate facing seam bowling. Because you've got no idea which way it's going to be going. It does it so late. They'll come up against better batting units that will play better. But as a group, I thought they bowled with a great amount of control and skill.
Yeah. I don't know how much you've seen of Atkinson, Finney.
Fair amount. Yeah, I watched him quite closely at the beginning of last summer when he played a few domestic games for Surrey on TV, actually. And I worked on those games, and you watch him and speaking to the guys who faced him in those games, the batters, they just said, this bloke's got something that's a bit different to other people that you face in domestic cricket. And like Forney says, it's that like zip off the wicket that he gets. He bowls the seam, he changes seam positions from quite seam up and looking to shape it away from a right-hander to then you see Jimmy Anderson has a wobble seam that's just a little bit wobbly. Gus Atkinson's wobble seam is all over the shot, but somehow he gets that ball to nip across left-handers and back into right-handers. And I think what he's developed over the last 12 months is he's added to that pace that he found at the beginning of last year by speeding his run-up up a little bit and looking to bowl quicker. I mean, how nice that would be just to think about bowling quicker and be able to do it. like he did. He's mixed that in with the knowledge when to use that seam up delivery mixed in with the wobble seam, and he looks to have all the attributes, that simple, repeatable action that you look for a Test match player.
Would they refine that wobble then? I mean, you talk about the big wobble. I mean, will they try and refine it to that little Jimmy Anderson amount of wobble seam?
Well, he looks at the thing you look for with that as well is how repeatable his action is, and aside from his feet crossing over in his run up a little bit, which I struggled with through my career, that I did subconsciously. You have to keep a little bit of an eye on that, but once he gets into his delivery stride and he gets to the crease, there's not much that can go wrong.
He's about to speak to Henry Moran, I think. Henry.
Thank you, Wagons. Gus, how do you feel? I mean, it's a surreal day.
Yeah, very surreal. I mean, I've always thought about the Lord's Honours Board growing up and being on there for bowling, and then to see myself there with the bat is incredible. And I mean, I couldn't have asked for much more, really.
How did you sleep last night?
Not that well. And I don't think it was. I didn't feel too much pressure. You know, I was pretty happy. I'd scored 70 odd already, and then obviously I was thinking about the 100. But you know, as soon as I woke up, all I could really think about was batting. But yeah, didn't sleep that well. But hopefully I'll get a good night's sleep tonight.
Michael Vaughan just described it as pretty much the perfect innings. Can you believe you've played that knock?
Yes and no. I've always had a lot of belief in my batting, but today everything sort of came together. I felt really good. Felt like I was getting into really good positions and just hitting the ball cleanly. So it's just one of those days, and looking forward, hopefully I can remember sort of what I did today and yesterday and take that going forward.
Have you scored 100 in any form of cricket before?
I have. I scored a few when I was about 12, 13. But then my last 100 was for Surrey 2s against Worcester 2s in 2018 maybe. So yeah, it's nice to get my first professional 100 here.
Not a bad place to do it. Wonderful videos on social media of your dad celebrating it. Special to be able to share that sort of moment.
Yeah, I haven't seen the full video yet. I've seen a clip of it. But yeah, I think he's had a pretty good few days at Lord's with the how it went against the West Indies and then how it went today and yesterday. So I think he'll be pretty delighted. I mean, I came here quite a few times with him when I was younger to watch Test cricket. So for me to be out there doing well, I think he'd be very proud.
That moment when you saw the ball had beaten the fielder and you're running through, what goes through your mind?
I can't really remember. I was just so relieved and so happy, and then I just found it so cool seeing my teammates up there on the balcony, and then I had some friends over there watching, turn to them, see them celebrating. It was just all pretty surreal. I feel like it all becomes a bit of a blur with the crowd, but yeah, it was just such a good feeling.
What about the match situation? It's gone pretty much to plan, this, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to get put into bat and end up on 430 is very good, and then to bowl them out today and for 200 is more than we could have asked for. I mean, we're well ahead of the game after day 2, so there's a lot of time left in the game. So hopefully we'll get a big lead tomorrow and then bowl them out.
Was there ever any talk of enforcing the follow-on?
Probably. I don't know. I don't think I'll be involved in those chats, but I think because there is so much time left in the game, there's no rush to sort of put them in again, and the wicket I think will only get worse. I think we saw tonight a few went up and down, so the more balls bowled on the pitch, hopefully it will become a bit more variable bounce.
A year ago, you'd not represented England in any format. Can you believe what's happened in the last 12 months?
No, I can't really. No, it's been an incredible 12 months. Very surreal. I mean, I can't really put it into words. To have Test 10 for and a Test 100.
You can't even believe it when you say it.
I just sort of laughing. I just walked into the changing room after I got out and just sort of started laughing. It was just so surreal, yeah.
And how will you celebrate just lasting tonight?
I think I'll just shut it down, have some food, and then probably watch my highlights.
Well played today. Many congratulations. Cheers, guys.
I bet he will watch those highlights. And he just played so confidently, and the drive for 4, it wasn't a question of just poking around and getting up to the 100. Alistair Cook, he banged it for 4, ran up the pitch celebrating, and that was it.
A brilliant moment.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed him getting 100. I think the whole crowd did. I don't know why I like watching Gus Atkinson do well. I'm a fan of him, and I knew he could bat a bit, but not like that. I mean, it was an extraordinary innings. He played so many great shots. It was pure power. There's a lot of power. It was timing. It was simplicity. It was controlled. I mean, I have genuine disbelief that he could play as well as that. That's his ceiling. I don't think you'll ever play any better than that. But
I'm going to ask you that.
How close?
Yeah.
The challenge for him now is how close can he do that consistently? Because England are desperate to find those lower order runs, and then so they can play the bowlers they want to play. Because actually, I think their top, if they wanted to pick their best bowling attack, the batting is a bit too weak. I think that's fair enough, you know. So I think the fact that he has that ability down there somewhere to play like that is such a positive for England.
It's expectation now, isn't it? And the fact that he has gone out and played like that, I wonder how that'll make him feel next time he walks out to bat, Stu.
Well, I don't know. It's quite a hard thing to comprehend. If I'd played like that, you'd want to go out and start in 5th gear every time. I suppose he just has to try and find the memories and that headspace. I suppose the challenge when you're a lower order player is not getting ahead of yourself. If he can find that headspace where he was in yesterday afternoon when he was starting his innings and just getting going, he's going to be a mighty fine player to have in that lower order.
Yeah. The interesting thing now is people know that's what he can do like that, and I think they'll go to the short ball very early at him. Not the fact he got out playing the short ball. He did play some pull shots, but that will be when the pace goes slightly higher.
Yep.
They will go there very early because he is a bit. It looks like he played the shot nicely, but it was against 82 miles an hour, and they'll be aware of the danger of pitching the ball up to Gus Atkinson because how well he plays the drive. So I think that'll be the next little step for him to come.
Yeah, and if there is some competition around for places too, you never know. I mean, he's in a great place at the moment, but you never know what's down the line. Little innings like that will certainly count in his favour.
Absolutely, that strength to have at number 9, number 8 still is probably a place too high for him if you're talking about a real high quality test match team. But when we used to play and Tim Bresnan used to come in at number 9, or Graham Swan or Stuart Broad, it just
early Stuart Broad.
Sorry, pre-2014,
Pre-grilled.
but it makes such a big difference to the team.
Yeah. I had a brief discussion about Ollie Stone. Where do we think? I mean, it's just good to see him back for a start. He had that benefit of a nice early wicket as well, bit of a drag on, but never mind. It gets you going again. What did you think? Yeah,
well, impressed that I know how hard it is when you come back and you've had a long period out, and you know that you've got these 2 test matches to make an impression. That wears on you a little bit mentally. So for all the positivity in the dressing room, which there will be, making him feel comfortable, there's still that underlying doubt in yourself, I suppose, a bit to say, can I do this at this level? So you look at his paces today, he was a touch down on pace maybe to where we'd expect him to be, but you factor all the things in, that the mental torment that he'd have gone through for the last 3 years, the anxiety that he'd have felt, it just makes you tense up. So to come in and get 2 wickets in his first spell like he did will have given him great heart, and you hope that now that's a platform for him to push on and make an impression in these last 2 test matches, to try and be that person who has that X factor when Mark Wood isn't there. I think quite tellingly, he was the person they went to bowl those bounces today. When they needed to, he was the one that was throwing the ball. So these next 3 innings that he has across these 2 test matches are great opportunities.
Might be a bit more pace at the Oval as well, perhaps, on that pitch.
Yeah, for me, watching Ollie Stone, I like the fact he challenged the stumps early on. You know, he bowled a lot of balls with a hit in the stumps, so he kind of reacted to the pitch. It's almost what happens overnight for Ollie Stone in the next couple of days, because normally he's played and then he gets an injury during a game or the next game. How he backs it up, and just if we're going to see what Ollie Stone can do, he has to play more than 1 game. You know what I mean? Like, he has to put a run of games together at the intensity of Test cricket. You know, I wonder when he pushes his body. You can't cruise at Test cricket. You can't just run in and bowl at 80% like you do at county cricket. And every time he's gone up to this level under the pressure of it. His body's let him down. So I hope he gets a run at it, so therefore we can see Ollie Stone. Then we can kind of work out where he fits in England's pecking order. Because if he is going to be the point of difference, unfortunately, his pace needs to be quicker, because then otherwise he'll drag back into the kind of the pack of bowlers who bowl top of off and are good. But you'd say the skills of Chris Wokes, and at the moment Gus Atkinson would be ahead of him at those kind of skills, and probably Matthew Potts. Yeah.
I was asked on a preview podcast about this, about a dead cert that I thought would happen in this match. And something that wanted to happen in the match. So I've had the dead cert, and the umpire Wilson's had a decision review.
Do you know what? I haven't been on air with you today much, and I was going to say actually he hasn't made a mistake yet, but he did. He
got one.
It was.
But it was Dan Lawrence, and that was my second answer to that was, well, I really hope Dan Lawrence gets some runs because he's out of position, and people keep going on about him being out of position and this and that and this and that. I really hoped, and I mean, it looked, when you look at the technology, it looks you probably did get a little nick onto the pad, didn't it? And that little guilty little look back at the time as well that batsmen give when they know they've nicked it. But it's just disappointing. He's missed out. He's missed out. I mean, you felt that tomorrow there were two batsmen who could have benefited from Pope's decision to bat again, one being Pope himself and the other being Dan Lawrence, and he's not going to get that chance now.
No, frustrating for him, frustrating for people who are kind of associated with Dan Lawrence. Almost goes back a little bit to... I go back to that 90 he got in West Indies. The difference... Yeah. There's not sliding door moments. One shot shouldn't make the sliding door moment of a Test career, but he played really nicely for that 90, and he tried to get that 100. He won't admit it, but he tried to get that 100 that night, that day. I think it was it the last over he was out in? He was caught cover.
Yes,
I think it was the last over in the West Indies, and he got 91, I think. And I just think that mental hurdle meant that not getting 100 meant he was kind of available to be dropped. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So Ben Stokes came in and decided that went a slightly different way. If he had scored that 100, I feel as if he would have played, and he would have played in his right position under the Ben Stokes era, that first initial bit of going to play your shots, which was suited Dan Lawrence down to the ground. Ultimately, he knew he had these 3 games, and he's still got one more game to make sure that he'd scored enough runs in these 3 games that he is available. He is involved in the selection to go to Pakistan. If he scores 100, he's still got an opportunity next week on his home ground, now the Oval, to get 100. Then he's guaranteed to be on the plane. And if not, the England selectors, who have been quite brutal this summer, might decide. Unfortunately, you've had your 6 innings, which is not a huge sample size, but it's enough, and you haven't taken that chance. And that's what elite level sport is taking your chance when it's thrown at you, even if it's not quite perfect for you.
But Pope's chance still remains. I mean, people will say, "Oh, it's a soft." You can see what people are going, and they're right, probably. I mean, if it does get a low run tomorrow, it probably is okay to say, "Well, yeah, but it's quite a soft situation." But it would take some pressure off.
Absolutely. What's happened and what can be created playing for England is a storyline which starts very small and very quickly becomes the main headline. Now, if Ollie Pope doesn't score runs again tomorrow, guess what? That will be the lead story, because actually England, it's a great day, they're ahead of the game, but you always look at something. There's always something to be a story when you're playing for England.
And a last thought, declaration time tomorrow. What will England look for, do you think?
I think ideally you want the opposition to be scoring the biggest score in the last innings when you're in a position to declare like this, but there's so much time left in the game that there's no need. I think the game will naturally progress quite quickly tomorrow in terms of run scoring and probably wicket taking, given what Gus Atkinson referenced there, maybe a bit of up and down in the pitch as it bakes in the sunshine in London.